too far. Welcome and thank you for coming. I am Samantha Temple, the current RPCV Colorado Board President. I'm so excited you're all here today. It's a great showing, and of course I wasn't worried that it would be. So welcome. Welcome friends and guests and all of the returned Peace Corps volunteers who are in this room. It is always so energetic and fun to be in a room full of family, which is essentially what we all feel like. We don't congregate at this scale often enough, but when we do, it's always a special occasion. It's an occasion for reconnection, new connection, and always classic storytelling, which I'm sure I just interrupted a lot of storytelling. So tonight, I hope will be no different than other times when we congregate. Except that we have a few special guests who will be introduced shortly. For those that I have not had the opportunity to meet as the president, I hope to meet you tonight. I would also like to acknowledge that we have two past board presidents in the room. I think at least two. If I miss anyone, feel free to yell at me. But we have Charlie Hunt. If you want to raise your hand. Hi, Charlie. And we have Ariane Berger. Ariane. If I have missed anyone, I apologize, any past presidents. Tonight, we are joined by an amazing team of Peace Corps staff who have worked really hard to make not only tonight, but an entire week of events in Denver, Colorado happen. So if you are Peace Corps staff tonight, of course you're a returned Peace Corps volunteer, but if you're Peace Corps staff, raise your hand so we can acknowledge you. And I want to give a special thanks to two. You all deserve many thanks, but a special thanks to Ted and Lila. So Ted, Lila, they are with the Office of Strategic Partnerships and Intergovernmental Affairs, and they joined way too many Zoom meetings with me, Steve Warner, and Charlie Hunt to make this event happen. So thank you. This would not have happened in this beautiful manner if it weren't for your time and dedication. So thank you so much. I also want to thank the University of Denver, Joseph Corbell School of International Studies, particularly Professor Aaron Schneider. Where did he go? Over here. Aaron, thank you. We would not be in this lovely space if it were not for Aaron helping us be here together. And for those of you who don't know Aaron, or maybe you do, you might not know this about him, but he is a great friend of Peace Corps because his father, Mark Schneider, was the 15th Peace Corps director. He was the director in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Mark, his father, was also an RPCV from El Salvador. He is an RPCV from El Salvador. So, Aaron, thank you so much. Thanks for answering all my emails and making this possible. Lastly, I want to thank the person behind all of it. I don't think any of this would happen, of course, with everyone I mentioned, but this person in particular, Steve Warren. Where did you go? Everybody. Please give thanks to Steve. I'm sure many of you know Steve. He is an RPCV from South Korea. He's an active Rotarian and a founding member of Partnering for Peace, the Rotary Peace Corps Partnership. So really dedicated to this community, and just thanks again, Steve. Okay, so those are my thanks. And before I introduce some special guests, I want to introduce all of you. And I want to do our classic Peace Corps through the decades so that our speakers know who is in the room and when we all served. I'm going to do it 2 decades at a time so it goes quick. Okay, so raise your hand if you served in the 60s or 70s. Wow. Raise your hand if you served in the 80s or 90s. Early 2000s and 2010s. Did I forget someone? 90s and 80s? I said 80s and 90s, no? Okay. Well, we forgot you. Sorry. Okay. Raise your hand if your service was affected by the pandemic. together. And lastly, raise your hand if you are about to embark on Peace Corps service. Woo! So I am going to give a special shout out to Emily and Lily. They are joining us from the Colorado School of Mines. They are graduating seniors who are about to embark on service in Madagascar and Sierra Leone. So if you have advice, go find them. I'm very proud of them. Okay, so now that we are all acquainted and we are all very excited to hear from our guests, we have two Peace Corps directors with us, one former and one current, and I have the pleasure of introducing the former. So past director Nick Craw, he was the 6th Peace Corps director, exactly 50 years ago to this year. He served in this role, so do the math. Prior to serving as the Peace Corps director, he was the director of operations on the SS Hope hospital ship, which I believe, if my research is correct, was the precursor project to Project Hope, which is now a massive international NGO. Director of operations there. And since his service in international affairs, Nick has had a second career, or what I might call a second adventure, as a professional racing driver. Yes. Please talk to him. F1, F2. I'm not sure exactly which one, but in that category. Racing driver. He was the CEO of Sports Car Club of America and the CEO of the Automobile Competition Committee of the United States. I don't know about you, but I'm going to ask him for some F1 pit lane access later today. If anybody knows, just a joke. So please help me in welcoming Nick Craw to give us some remarks.
Well, it's nice to be in this family. Again, you never leave this family. And I was revealing the fact that it was 50 years ago this year when I was sworn in, and that gives me a very humble sense of perspective. It was an incredible honor, incredible privilege to serve, and I'm so glad to see that so many people because so
Okay. Wow. It is great to be here in Denver. Great to be here with all of you. It's just always incredible to see people coming out and coming into community with each other as returned Peace Corps volunteers, as people who cared enough about the world to leave, to learn another language, to enter a community with humility and respect, and to work in partnership with people around the world in countries they may not have ever heard of before.
and to really put themselves on the line. And my heart goes out to all of you, and I'm so excited. So excited for you all. Welcome to this crazy, wonderful family. You will hear a ton of stories tonight. We will have a bunch of stories, and it is just such a special gift to be part of this enterprise of creating world peace and friendship one relationship at a time. So I'd like to give you all a round of applause. I'd like to also thank Samantha for all of her hard work, and Steve and Aaron and all of the people who made this incredible recapping. A big shout out to DA for the space. And I'd like to also share that University of Denver really leaned in when our volunteers were evacuated. And as you can imagine, making the call, I did not have to make the call to evacuate Peace Corps globally for the first time ever. It was a heart-wrenching decision for Director Olson to make. But once it was made, our teams, our community, and when I say community, I mean every part of the Peace Corps network. Peace Corps is host families, Peace Corps is students, its counterparts, its staff, it's return volunteers, it's spouses of return volunteers and kids. Everyone moved into motion overnight. And it was chaotic, it was challenging, but I'm telling you, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness how many people stepped up and how many institutions stepped up. And University of Denver said, if you are a returning volunteer and you want to go to grad school, we are going to open our Coverdell Fellows program, offer 50% scholarships. Don't worry about the application deadline. Just come and be part of our community. And we heard from the leadership here just what an incredible contribution those volunteers make to the classroom every day and to the Corbell School. So I want to give a shout out to DU as well. Yes. Did you know that Coverdell Fellows are for life? So there is never too late to go back. I also want to recognize Dick Bevinglow. Dick, you can get a wave. Dick was in my Peace Corps group in 1994. Right? I think we all know about that, right? There's a cone of silence. You can tell your own stories, but not someone else's. No, it was great to reconnect with Dick. I have not seen him since our Peace Corps service ended. And we did Peace Corps, as I like to say, before the internet, right? So a very different world. I also have a couple of what I call my volunteers. So when you're a country director, anyone who comes through when our country director is your volunteer. So I want to give a shout out to Cameron Beach. Cameron was an education volunteer in Malawi. I didn't see a raise your hand that you were affected by the evacuation. Sight raise, okay. So Cameron was affected. She went back on her own to complete her service, which was just amazing. And where's Matt? Matt, stand up, Matt, and wave. Matt was an environment volunteer in Malawi as well with his wife Tara, who can't be here with us today, but it's like it just warms my heart to be with you all. There are 100 things I could talk about today, but I mostly just want to spend time with you all, so I won't go on and on about Peace Corps. I'll just give you a few brief updates. So we are back in 53 countries around the world. Thank you. It has been a journey. It has been a journey. We have about 1,400 volunteers in service right now. We are building back slowly and intentionally. And we have 3 strategic goals. One is to reimagine service. The next is to advance equity. And the third is to deliver quality. And reimagining service means really looking at how we build on what makes Peace Corps magical and beautiful and brings all of these people together, and in a way that keeps you connected to your country of service and keeps you connected to Peace Corps, but expanding impact and looking at how we can make service more accessible to more people, and how we can respond to the needs of our host communities in a variety of different ways. So I'll make a couple of plugs today. One thing that we launched during COVID was virtual volunteering. We all know that virtual volunteering does not replace the magic that happens on the ground. But we also know that there are people with very specific technical skills that countries need that can't afford to leave, that they don't medically clear, even though they want to go. And this is a way that we can both expand those opportunities and create opportunities to be active in places that we might not otherwise have been able to be active. So we currently have 20 people who are providing virtual support to Ukraine, a country in active conflict. It's beautiful. And they are providing trauma-informed teaching support to 90 teachers. They are engaging with kids who have special needs. They are talking to people who are in bomb shelters and still making the time to get on their phones and connect. And that is critically, critically important. We have volunteers who are serving in the Medellin region in Colombia, in the far reaches of other countries, places that we can't place volunteers in person for safety and security reasons. So it's a very exciting opportunity. If any of you are interested in still getting involved in a really different way, go and check out our website. Also want to just ask you all to engage in getting the word out that Peace Corps is back, and that this is an incredibly important time in the history of the world to connect across difference, to connect across borders, and to build those skills that you learned during Peace Corps service of being curious, of engaging with people, about caring about people. There is no more important time than right now, after we've been so isolated following COVID. As countries, as communities, as families, we need to make sure that we are building these skills, that we are showing up in the world, that we are bringing the best of America to the world, which I believe is what Peace Corps does every day and what you all continue to do. So please do help us. We have a bold invitation campaign that is dropped in March. So I hope you're all seeing it on your social media feeds. I hope you start to see it in other public places, but we'll get some information out to you to share with friends and really to share this transformational experience. Let's get that opportunity out there for people wide and far to be a part of this beautiful family. And as always, write your congressman to support the Peace Corps. Yeah, thank you so much. I will be around, happy to answer questions, but really don't want to take up too much time. I want us all to be able to engage and really connect here today. So thank you. Okay. Is this on? Okay. We would all like to get, I think, Carol off the stage, mingling, chatting, cake. There's cake. But if there are, I'm going to max out at 3. If there are 3 questions that if folks are dying to ask and you want the whole room to hear, I don't know if Dick counts because you had dinner with her recently. Sure. Okay. We'll go do Dick and then Charlie and one more question after that. So think. Okay.
Carol, what is the numbers you're looking at for the future of people you're trying to place going forward, or this year or years after? And how many, and what countries?
I'm doing my job, and in what countries? So look, here's the exciting part. When we left in COVID, we were in 64 countries. And before we brought volunteers back into any country, we asked those countries if they wanted us back. And every single one said yes.
And we have a long line of countries waiting for Peace Corps that have formally invited us to go in. So we have about 12 countries that have invited us to go back. If I had my way, we would have a very large budget and be able to meet the demand that is there around the world. The reality is we can't meet the demand that's out there with our current budget. The president's budget will allow us to continue sort of marching back, but really expansion or dramatic expansion of the Peace Corps is not possible right now, just given the budget that we have. So it's sort of what's my dream. My dream is to be there for every country that wants us and to give as many people the opportunity to be part of this amazing enterprise as we possibly can. We are hoping to get an additional 2,000 or 3,000 back. Sorry, it depends which year you're talking about. I'm sort of in 2024 at this point, fiscal year 2024. We're about 1,400 by the end of our fiscal year. We'll be over 2,000 and we'll be marching on from there. Were there other questions? I'll come back to you. Yeah. Right. So the number of volunteers have fluctuated quite a bit over the decades. What's more interesting to me is the number of countries we've been active in. The number of countries is what drives the budget because of all of the infrastructure. Volunteer costs are marginal. I'm an accountant by trade, so I get into these like fixed costs and marginal costs and all of these things. So I'm trying to change the nature of the conversation to say how many countries are we in versus how many volunteers can we afford. And that's why I was going to come back to your question, right? And I take the extreme sometimes when people ask me that question. We could have 10,000 volunteers if we put them all within countries. We would have amazing economies of scale, right? So it depends what's important. Is it the geographic reach or is it the number of volunteers? I personally feel that there's tremendous value in geographic reach and having a presence in countries. We this year opened our first ever post in Vietnam, which is very exciting. 17 years in the making. This has been like so many people have had a hand in that, incredibly exciting. I have just seen people reduced to tears just with the symbolism of what that means. We're doing volunteers there. Education. We will grow. We will grow deliberately, trust. And they very much are interested in English language as the language of opportunity, as the language of the internet, as the language of business. And so they're very excited to expand with us. Volunteers. Right? So I think, thank you. And I don't take credit for it. Right? I really don't take credit for any of that. I just got the glory, which is the best part of this job, is to get the glory for other people's hard work. Yes. Where are you, Alana? Out of context. I'm so out of context. It's nice to see you. That's amazing. Let's give a round of applause to Alana DeJoseph, and a towering task. I know it was a towering task to put all of that together, and she certainly talked to us about a towering task too, as we rebuild and start over, which is also just an incredibly heavy lift. And I just want to give tremendous kudos to Peace Corps staff here at headquarters and around the world for all of the resilience and strength and grit and flexibility, all of those things that we ask of volunteers that have shown in spades over the last 3 years as we have navigated the complexity of both leaving the countries that we were in and looking at how we rebuild and go back better.
Thank you, Carol, for being here tonight with us. Thank you so much. Good. Okay, everybody get back to storytelling. Now we have another guest to storytell with, and I'm going to put Charlie Hunt in charge of cutting the cake because it is not cut yet. So if you want some cake, head on to the corner and Charlie will help serve up some cake. I'm sure he would take a volunteer too if somebody else wants to help. All right, thanks everyone.